Hello, everybody. Tracy, Mrs. JDog Flanagan with you here today. I'm the co-founder and senior vice president at JDog Brands. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Tactical Treasures. Our podcast gives veterans, mil spouses, active military service members, and military families a voice in the veteran space to speak about their service, how they are affecting their communities post-service, and a tactical treasure from their past that has shaped their journey in their military career, business, or life. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Meghan Ogilvie. Meghan Ogilvie comes from a very strong military family, with both her father and sister having graduated from the Naval Academy and serving in the United States Marine Corps. For several years, Meghan was a professional soccer player and worked in finance at various companies in New York. Then in 2015, Meghan assumed the role of CEO of Dog Tag Inc., a 501c3 that empowers service-disabled veterans, military spouses, and caregivers through an innovative 5-month fellowship program. In this role, Meghan works hard to help equip transitioning veterans and military families with the knowledge, skills, and confidence to pursue their career goals post-service. And in 2017, Meghan was named Presidential Leadership Scholar, and she is also a recipient of the U.S. Army's Outstanding Civilian Service Award. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you, Meghan, for appearing on the podcast. So great to have you with us today.
Oh, Tracy, it's fantastic to be here. I feel exceptionally honored to be part of it. And to be honest with you, I'm inspired by what you and your husband have created. I follow you guys constantly and listen to you as much as possible. So it's wonderful to be here today.
That's great. Thank you for that. We love what we do every day. It's really been awesome. And I've kind of been following you a little bit. I think I remember seeing you. Were you on Fox and Friends a couple of years ago?
We have been. Yeah, we've had some really generous opportunities. We had a New Year's Eve spot, and then we had also we were really fortunate to have a clip on the Fox News channel a few times. So
yeah, I remember
just to share our mission and what we've been able to do.
Yeah, I remember that New Year's Eve spot. And that's
crazy.
Yeah, it was neat though. I loved it. So you come from a very strong military family. Could you just talk to me a little bit about that experience growing up surrounded by the military community? What was that like?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I don't think I really understood or actually understood how my life has been shaped by the military and the core values. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the Marine Corps very specifically, but that idea of service above self was just always so evident in my family. So the youngest of four, my dad served for 26 years in the Marine Corps. My sister served for 6, and I always add that my mom served for all of that. 14 moves in 26 years.
Wow.
4 kids, 2 dogs. She was the CEO of our family. She ran a tight ship, and she served our country with, but she's not the one that volunteered to do it in a lot of ways. And so being the youngest, I got to see some of that impact in different ways in my mom's career, or just obviously in her proud service to the country by supporting my father. So, when I was younger, whenever we leave the house, my mom would always remind us, remember who you are. And it was a really core sense of you're part of something bigger than yourself, right? You represent your father and I, your brother, sister. When you leave this house, you represent more than yourself. And on the other side is that, we got you, right? And you are part of something bigger. So you have a family here that's going to support you. So you never guess that. And it was very much part of our identity as all 4 kids. We all, remember who you are was kind of really, if you're going to soccer practice or if you're going to school, if you're going to a party, it was all the same. And so, my first stuffed animal was the bulldog from the Marine Corps. I joke that we had landmines as a clock, with swords in the wall. It's all pretty standard, right? Our license plate literally said "Urrah," the Marine Corps grunt. So we didn't try to hide it very well,
right?
But we're exceptionally proud of that. And I think, at a young age, around 18 or so, and I was looking at schools, I was fortunate to play soccer, and I got a letter from the Naval Academy of Interest. My dad's a Hall of Fame lacrosse goalie there. Mm-hmm. And my sister played basketball there. Oh, wow. And again, this kind of shows my parents and their own values. And I told my dad, it's just not my calling. I love Annapolis. I love that. I love the culture, but it's not for me. And my dad just looked at me, smiled, and said, "Don't worry, you're going to find your way to serve. I know that." And
Yeah.
so I think my parents really prepared myself as well as my other three siblings to have really strong core values. And when you think about making decisions big and small, you always go back to that. And I think that helped ground all of us in slowly finding our own purpose and in journey in life, and in kind of what I'm doing today and what my siblings are doing today. It was always based on really kind of the ethos and the values of what the military taught us and our parents.
Sure. And what you say is true. Like you say, your mom served, but you know what? All of you served. Your mom's motto, remember who you are. I mean, that's that. I mean, when you think about it, sure, there's a responsibility on your mom, but there's a responsibility on you kids too, to, be ambassadors for your dad's and your mom's service. Your mom is a mil spouse, so all that is so important. And having that upbringing, yeah, you definitely, those core values were ingrained in you, I am totally sure. Which really leads us into what you're doing today, which is being the CEO of Dog Tag Inc. So, how did you become involved with Dog Tag Inc? And tell me a little bit about what you're doing there, because you're doing great stuff.
Thank you. And thank you again for the opportunity to share the mission with you today and with your listeners. So I was, kind of still trying to find my journey. I was fortunate I got to play soccer in Iceland for a season after playing college, which was the women's league had crashed here. And so I was trying to find my path and ended up moving to New York after that and trying to find my way, and started as a receptionist at Lehman, and then kind of worked my way into an equities job, an analyst, which I was a sociology major. I didn't even know what an equity was. And again, it was kind of more based on like the hard work, and the excitement of what could be was always, what pushed me versus the fear of failure. And I think again, because I knew who I was, I knew I had the support to kind of pursue that. And so after 6 years in New York, I was struggling to really find my purpose. I was struggling to understand how I was finding my way to serve. And it wasn't until my best friend from college said, "Listen, I know you love New York, but there's this, a Jesuit priest born missing a straight forearm. He's has an idea to start this nonprofit bakery, and I think you should meet him." So I actually met him at her wedding. I was a bridesmaid. He was the officiant, and it was Father Richard Curry. And when I first met him, at the rehearsal dinner, he pulled out a picture of the Vietnam Memorial Museum chandelier in Chicago, and it had dog tags representing all those that were killed, missing in action from Vietnam. And he pulled it out, folded up, and you can tell he'd had it for a while. And he's like, "This is going to be in our bakery." It's like, "Great, where's the bakery?" And he's like, "Oh, I have no idea." Right? Like, "Oh, what's the program?" "I don't know. We'd figure it out."
Oh,
So after 6 years, I just, that just spoke to me pretty directly. And so I left New York and moved to DC in 2012 as Dog Tag's first employee. I think my first title was was general manager, because I just generally managed things.
yeah.
And then kind of slowly moved up. But where we are today is that we run a 5-month fellowship program for veterans that have service connected disabilities, military spouses, and military caregivers. Over the course of 5 months, the goal is to empower each fellow to redefine purpose and rebuild community. So we have 5 core elements of academics, experiential learning, network building, business planning, and the wraparound service. But the most important is wellness. So over the course of 5 months, you'll earn and graduate with a certificate in business acumen from Loyola or business administration from Georgetown. You use our beautiful bakery right in the heart of Georgetown as its experiential learning and understanding how to run a small business. We bring our partners in, both nonprofit, for-profit, corporate, entrepreneurs, small business owners, as our learning labs. And that's how you build the network back up and get the personal professional development opportunities. You do execute an idea, whether it's something you want to do or not. It's ability of taking all the tools you've learned through the academics and experiential learning and networking and putting an idea down and pitching that. That's for graduation. And then every week you practice, journaling, yoga, mindfulness, poetry. But a whole course we currently teach is called Finding Your Voice. It's a theater class. Every other week, our fellows go through about 3 hours of theater coursework to understand their story and the different elements of what and how they want to tell it, so no one else tells it for them. So we're
Wow.
really proud. We were able to launch in 2014, our pilot, And just in January of this year, we were actually able to launch our pilot in Chicago. So we're currently running in DC and Chicago. We've served over 200 of our alumni currently we have, and we're launching back up in about 3 weeks in January with our next cohort 17 and cohort 3. So
Wow.
we're been an honor and privilege. I did not foresee helping start this nonprofit that I would actually find my own purpose in it, and I'm grateful and humbled by it every day. So
Wow.
it's been a journey for sure.
That's amazing. I think that's a quest of every, if I can say, human being here on earth is, what are we here for? What is our purpose? What is our mission? And I think no matter who you are, whether you're in corporate America or not, or in the military, whatever, you get out, I think you always have to have that in front of you, because I think that's what gets you up during the day and gets you up every
Yeah.
morning to live life, is if you have a mission and you have a purpose and you know what your why is, right?
And it's such a big question
It
too, right? And
is.
so that's
It
like the hard
is.
part is, you know, allowing yourself time to go through that
Right.
process. You know, when we
Right.
talk about transition, we don't look at, as years, right? Transition is a process.
Sure it
It's kind
is.
of mind, body, and spirit. And so our
Yeah.
whole program
Hmm.
is really like this isn't just about any opportunity. It's like a quality opportunity. It's not just any education. It's the best
Sure.
education or the
Yeah.
best business, right?
Yeah.
And so to that point, for 5 months, allow yourself to ask these kind of scary questions in some ways. You have to be very vulnerable with some courage involved,
Right.
right? To be able
Right.
to ask yourself this. And we want to provide that safe space. And our
Mm.
goal isn't to say, we're jumping off, we're kind of a springboard. What we're seeing now is alumni come back 2 or 3 years later saying, it took, dog tag was a catalyst for change, and I've been able to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
That's their journey. We're humbly part of that journey.
Yeah.
We aren't the answer to everything, right? But we want to provide that 5 months so you can start, figuring that out for yourself and for your family.
Yeah. And I think, when you look at our military veterans and our male spouses, I think they struggle the most, because when they're in the military or they're part of the military community serving, they have a purpose, they have a mission. And all of a sudden, either they get out or they retire or whatever, and that mission changes. And then it's almost like, okay, now I have to redefine myself. What is going to be my why? What is my next community or my next tribe look like? And that can take time, and it takes programs like yours that help with that. Hello, listeners. We really want to thank you for tuning in and enjoying all the episodes of Tactical Treasures. We're talking to amazing veterans and mil spouses in the veteran space, and it's just been an amazing experience. And thank you so much for tuning in. But hey, if you want to check out JDog, look us up on jdog.com. And if you go to jdog.com, you'll find out everything about JDog. You'll be able to book a service, either junk removal and hauling or our carpet cleaning and floor care service. You can even look into our franchise, or you can even look at employment. Our JDog franchise owners are hiring all across the country, and they love to hire their fellow veterans and service members. And if you want to know more about our JDog Foundation, we're doing amazing things supporting irreverent warriors and stop soldier suicide, preventing PTSD, and combating veteran suicide. So check us out, jdog.com. Thank you. So one of my questions is, so how is this program funded? It's a 5-month program, you say?
It is. Yeah, so we don't accept the GI Bill because so we see about
Right.
40% of our alumni actually do post-secondary school.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to make sure when you're using that GI Bill, you're using it with intentionality, not that, but it can be more towards your purpose than just making sure you use it.
Right.
And so we also provide a small stipend per month to be in the program, so it's financially viable.
Okay.
Recognizing 5 months is not an insignificant amount of time.
Mm.
But we also recognize it's not a job, right? It's you have to want to be in this program. And so we pay for textbooks, technology, laptops, all that good stuff to ensure it each fellow can equitably be part of our program. And So it does have its, there's a cost to it, obviously, on dog tag. So we fundraise pretty significantly for that. We have made some really phenomenal partners that have believed in our journey and believed on the kind of long term what we hope to continue to show. And we've partnered with the Rand Corporation to help us with this longitudinal study as kind of the long term impacts of building the sustainability of after going through our program and the network and the tools and the resources that you gain and you take with, hopefully can continue and does continue to impact your ability to be successful in however you define that. So we fundraise pretty significantly in support of each fellow's ability to be in the program and the costs that are included, like I've mentioned before. We do have a beautiful bakery, and so you can also come in and support us through delicious products. We're nut-free certified, and we make everything in-house. So from our lemonade, which is freshly squeezed, but our delicious brownies and blondies and cakes and pies. We have a lot of butter and sugar, a lot of love, but a lot of butter. Someone came in and asked if we had anything sugar-free, and we are like, not on purpose. The salad place is next door.
Right.
We're kind of, but our beautiful bakery does also help support the program. So any of obviously the revenue that we're able to bring in, we reinvest back into the program. So that's another way that people, in a very simple way of getting your coffee in the morning or, ordering a basket to some colleagues or family or friends, you can come through Dog Tag and support our mission. So, we want to build a sustainable model that can go on, way past myself and any of us that are here that can have that consistency to serve.
Sure. Wow, that's great. That's great. Great stuff. So how can people support you? Can they? I know they can walk into the bakery and buy all this great stuff, but is there a way to donate or?
Absolutely. So, one on our website, there's a donate spot, www.dogtaginc.org. And so if you check us out there's all the different pages that you can see the fellowship. You can read stories of our alumni. You can see our impact page for some of the different results with Rand or how many we've served and the demographics. But on our donate page, we're really fortunate. We have some great monthly donors. You can give monthly or you can give as a one-off. And so that's, again, a great way to be able to be part of what we do every day is in supporting it. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it's one of the most humbling things to know that people work, their long days and long hours and then donate that money towards, our cause. And, it's humbling every day. Every day it's humbling to be part of that. So we're grateful, like I said. And if you want to buy baked goods, again, you got our website. We have a catering, we have online. You can ship it to your family and friends. So that's also a great opportunity. But but we are funded majority through fundraising right now. So every dollar counts, and we're grateful for every cent that you're generously giving to us.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Giving to our fellows and support, really.
Yeah. Hello, listeners and viewers. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Tactical Treasures, where we are speaking with Meghan Ogilvie, and she is a very strong military family member. Her father and sister graduated from the Naval Academy and served in the United States Marine Corps. Currently, she is the CEO at Dog Tag Inc., and that's a 501c3 that empowers service-disabled veterans, military spouses, and caregivers through an innovative 5-month fellowship program. So it's very exciting. We've been hearing all about it. Disabled veterans, military spouses, and caregivers. If you would like to find out more about this exciting program, you can go to dogtaginc.org and you can click on the fellowship tab and you can read all about it. They do this twice a year, January and July. You can also donate if there's anybody out there that is interested in donating to this program. You can find information there, and also their bakery. They have an online store, catering, and you can send gifts to friends and family. You can also email them at info@dogtaginc.org to get more information. So check it out if you're interested. So let's dive into your treasure. What we'd like to share with us today.
Well, can I ask a question? When you thought about this, and I have to ask first because I'm just so. How did you think of this concept, and what was your treasure? I guess that made it such. And again, I'm excited to hear from you because I think this is such a beautiful concept of how you've kind of brought it run the podcast and all the different guests that come on?
Well, the podcast really started last year, and it was an idea from Jerry, and the producer of our Operation Hidden Treasure show, Jim Melio, is our producer, and he thought that this might be an interesting way to, if I were to run a podcast and speak to military veterans and mil spouses, it would be a great way that we could promote our show. Because in the beginning, I introduce myself and I talk about our show, and then we go into the show and we talk with male spouses or veterans. And then at the end, I tell everybody, don't forget to watch Operation Hidden Treasures, airing between this time and this time on Discovery Channel, So it kind of came about as a way to, help support our television show. But what started out as something sort of like a part of a marketing thing has really turned into something way more than I ever thought. It's turned into a platform to give our, military families, mil spouses, and veterans to talk about their service and how they serve the country. And, some takeaways and to see what they're doing now, because most of them are figuring out their why, and they're doing amazing things, in their world, post-military. And I think, Americans, civilians, and veterans need to hear from those who wore the country's cloth. And I think also what is a really nice thing too is our veterans have a lot of advice for their fellow service members. And we talk about that at the end. I ask, do you have a piece of advice? And they say some amazing things. And, I don't know if this podcast can get out there. We're on all the big podcast platforms, and it's just a way for America to get to know our veterans and on those who have served our country, and our military family members as well, and our mil spouses. And hopefully, I hope our veterans find it and get motivated and get inspiration, because some of the treasures that are being shared are pretty amazing. So yeah.
Do you have like a top 5?
Oh, a top 5. That is so hard. I don't know if I have a top 5. A couple ones that I guess stand out to me are the podcast that I did with Cindy McNally. She is the president of Irreverent Warriors. She is a mil spouse, but Army veteran herself, and her 2 children served in the Marine Corps. Her husband was in the Navy and committed suicide, and that's how she founded, or how she came across Reverent Warriors. And her treasure is awesome. She was a Blue Star to Gold Star mother liaison. So she presented the flag at, the funerals of, fallen children to the mothers. And I would say that is one of, there's several, but I would say that was one of the most emotional podcasts that I had. I was actually choked up during the podcast. So if you have a chance, go take a listen to that one. It's pretty amazing. But, all the veterans and all the mil spouses that I've spoken to really have wonderful, incredible stories, and they're all different, but they're all relevant, and they're all exciting and touching and impactful. I would say I can't. It's hard to place, a couple favorites, but I would say that one was probably the most emotional for me to interview her. She's a wonderful lady. But all our veterans that I've spoken to, they're doing such amazing stuff, post-service, and they're utilizing their military training and their values and those core values that you talk about, and they're still serving their communities. They're still serving America, but in a different way. Yeah. It's really been awesome. My treasure, Oh, if I had to pick one, I would just say what I do every day.
Yeah.
My why, my purpose,
Hmm.
is crystal clear. And, there's no doubt in my mind that, I'm doing what God has put me on this earth to do. And I live it every day and I'm passionate about it. So I guess that's my
Hmm.
treasure. I never had anybody ask me my treasure before. Thank you.
No, I know you've had. I mean, again, I know Marjorie Easton very well. I mean, obviously you had
Oh,
Betrayus. You've had some really, but also
yes.
to create space for this, I think is also just really special. And I think it's just, yeah, I just think that takes a very special person to be that thoughtful, right? Or curious as well. So I just
Yeah.
couldn't help but ask for yours.
So
um,
tell me about your treasure. Your turn.
yeah, it's so hard. So, and I asked too because I'm like, oh, it's there's just, I guess, in some ways I kind of talked a little bit about my family, and I think one of those pivotal moments was just really when my dad, did tell me that I would find my way to serve, and whether I knew that consciously or subconsciously, I think that became kind of my why. Is like, how am I going to do this? I worked in an insurance billing company. I was a substitute teacher. I trained soccer. I've had a lot of different jobs. I think it's a healthy thing too, especially when
Mhm.
you're young. I mean, just searching for that why. And what I'd say is so hard. I think it was in our first cohort. It was our first cohort of running the program. And, we had 10 fellows in the class. And I think you have to be careful. We all do. I say this, I'll speak for myself, is not to kind of have the savior model, right? I'm going to come save people, right? Because sometimes people
Right.
aren't asking to be saved, right? And
Right.
and then it's no longer about what you're doing. It's no longer about service. It's about you, right? And I think
Right.
in our first cohort, it became, you know, the simplicity of being like curious and humble. Being humbled is, for instance, we built our classroom and we serve specific veterans that have service connected abilities, military spouses and caregivers. And, we built this classroom and our fellow came in and was like, these lights, they have to go, right? Immediately. And you're like, really? These are really expensive lights. We just put these in. We built this new bakery. And he was like, it reminds me of a flash. Okay. So we put dimmers on all the lights. And then we had tables in a very, like, set up in a very specific way, and the classroom faced a very specific way, and nobody was sitting in one area. And we realized, because what's the deal? All right, everyone's in the perimeter. Why is everyone on the perimeter? Why is it? And they're like, Megan, there's two doors there. No,
Right.
no service member is going to sit there with their backs to a door.
I
And I
know.
think
I'm
this is
married to
part of,
one.
right. Yeah.
No
And I
back to
think
the
this is the
door.
simplicity
Yeah.
of recognizing that we have to listen to those in our program to know what the needs are instead of building something that we want, right? And the going through that process, that we then use this classroom as a beautiful space for individuals to start talking not about their disability, but how they could speak towards, hey, listen, I actually, if you go into the workforce, right? What happens if your desk is right near the water cooler, right? Do you want to, share, hey, I trained for 20 years in the military, to someone that doesn't, maybe it's never served, maybe a different, religion, race, ethnicity, all of that. Do you want to have to like tell them your life story, or how do we talk about it? Also, not as that is something that you can't do anymore, but something that, that can empower you to be successful. So we use this classroom as that space to say, listen, in the workspace, how are you going to have this conversation? Like, well, you know what? I'd go up to my manager and I'd say, for me to be more successful, I'd really appreciate if I could move my desk to be around the corner. That way it allows me to focus, be more consistent, not have. And so we started, hey, I might wear these glasses. They help mitigate some of the light, and that allows me to stay focused longer and be able to be really productive, right? And versus having to say I wear these glasses because I have a TBI and because the light affects, and so the humility to be like, oh, change the light, put dimmers on, allow space for this. It really set the tone for how we built our program. And it's by listening. Every cohort, we take something away and we make a change to our fellowship, the program, how we run it, the timing of it. We actually ended up, after cohort 2, they're like, listen, we have family, we have lives, we need a week break in between just to breathe. And so I think those moments of just listening, right? And kind of being I like to say that for me personally, and that hopefully our team, I'm a student of our program, right? I'm a student of our mission because we need to continue to listen, to know what the needs are of today, not 10 years ago, right? Or not what you envision, right? Only you have to listen to those that you're serving. Otherwise, it's about you. And listen, we're a nonprofit, right? I mean, I worked on Wall Street. I know what that looks like. And this is in service to others. And so I think the most, again, it's such a simple moment in some ways, but we built this program, and in our first cohort, our cohort one has a very special place in my heart because they really went through it with us. They really, even though like with the best of intentions, you learn, right? You do things
Sure.
wrong. And
Yeah.
it also then gave me I guess the ability to recognize that I have so much empathy and compassion in so many ways because we're building something and we're learning, and you can't have an ego in this process. I have pride. I'm a very proud person, I'd say, but I don't have an ego, right? In as much as possible, because it's not about being right. It's about doing well by others and making sure, it's about making sure we running a program that has impact, right? That is of service to others. And by listening, that's the only way we know.
Right.
And I think again, it's allowed us to be a bit more nimble. It's allowed us to evolve over the past, since 2014 and how we serve. And what I'll tell you is we're going to continue to do that, right? We're not going to have mission creep. We're not going to, turn into a bike shop and then try to start serving everybody, or so, we're not going to change it by any means. But I think what we want to do is we want to stay relevant. And until the day we're no longer relevant, then we'll go away. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
if there's no need to serve again. So I think you can build something and you can fall in love with it. And it's until you start, the customer, if you will, you can have the most delicious product. But if no one buys it, right?
Right.
You know this,
Yeah.
right? You can build a wonderful business plan, and so I think that's also what I take into the fellowship and try to like share with the fellows. It's like, listen, I get it. We have a second floor bakery because on the kitchen in our bakery, so we thought we were going to create dog biscuits. Tracy, we've never baked a dog biscuit up there. You know why? Because it's a massive branding issue. People think we're a dog bakery.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think the point is like it makes us more compassionate, empathetic for the program and the struggle and the vulnerability and all of that you have to put forward. And we all need that. Sometimes we just need cheerleaders, right? Sometimes we just need someone saying like, you got this. But you have to be willing to listen and be wrong and not be okay with that. And just know, like it's the Maya Angelou quote, do the best you can until you can do better, then do better. Right. And I think that's that moment in cohort one with the simplicity of just learning every day. It has hopefully built us to be a more resilient program as well, and how we think about continuing to serve and building a program that can again last way beyond, for the next 20 years.
Yeah. I know that that military civilian divide is always something that is, it continues to be worked on and continues to evolve, I think. And it, and I look at myself, as a civilian. I come from a military family, although, I didn't grow up with my father when he served. He was done serving. But he always instilled, moral code and good work ethic and values into my life. But, I wasn't a military brat with a mill spouse for a mom like you were. But, I think it's up to us civilians. I think we have a responsibility to educate ourselves. I know just for me, I was married. I married Jerry after his service. So I'm a veteran spouse, but he has his little quirks and their little things, but I know it's important. And, they matter. And so I've learned to, over the years, pay attention. But when we really got involved in, this veteran space that we're in now, where we're actually working and meeting veterans every single day, and I felt ill-equipped. I thought, you know what, I really need to understand this. I want to be able to relate to our veterans. And so I did a lot of research, a lot of reading online, and I educated myself. But not every civilian does that. And how much better would our private sector, corporate America do if they actually educated themselves and really understood, these particular needs that our veterans have, as far as, having their back to the door, or the light issue that you talk about, or whatever, because they provide, quote, special, situations for any regularly disabled person, not realizing that, you can hire a military veteran that can bring wonderful, incredible things to your company, but they have a disability that may not necessarily be seen.
Right.
So how can they better educate themselves, and be prepared for that? It's
It's so true. And I think in the male spouse and caregiver space, it's the comparable thing as well. It's interesting. One of my colleagues, who works with our team right now, and I think she'd be okay with me sharing, but just in case that, so she works with dog tag and she's a military spouse, and we knew that, right? And he's active. And so she's a current team member of ours. And during the interview, we said, it was kind of like near the end, and she meant, like I said, we're also, it basically came up that she was a military spouse, and she's like, yeah, it's not something I usually talk about, right, in interviews, because I
yeah,
don't, the discrimination of kind of like, oh, you'll only be here, and the military caregivers, right, like the
right,
very specific needs of also like recognizing like the timing, and the opportunity, of when they can kind of start moving forward with, whether the service members more dependent, have greater support, whatever that looks like. To that same point, I think that's also such a prominent, to the same, message you had, is there's a lot of great initiatives out there, but without the education of understanding the culture, or understanding
right,
the trials and tribulations, it's kind of, it's a good cause, but not, it struggles with maybe sometimes being successful or sustainable, because
mhm,
you know um, there isn't an understanding. And I think I'm part of the 99%, right? I'm just like you. I didn't serve, right? And I
mhm,
feel like, um, the simplicity of kind of saying, listen, to educate yourself, to make yourself, understanding the culture and the community, is as simple as, like as you would research anything, right?
right,
Or
sure,
find out you have a neighbor local, right? That's a service member or family, offer to, watch their kids so they can have a date night, and just, like, just in a very simple, or I'm like, bring them a casserole, like, the simplicity of just connecting to
right,
this military civilian divide. I mean, that's why we have a bakery, right? Our,
yeah,
our co-founder said nobody goes to a bakery to be mad. And that's the truth. It's
yeah,
like, breaking bread or having a coffee together. And the
sure,
simplicity of that is, we kind of have to like stop waiting for like a roadmap to how do we connect. It's just human to human.
right,
Um, and that's so important. You know what I mean? It's the human. We're all trying our best here, but to be an ally of anyone, you need to make sure you also are taking on the responsibility to understand that. So I
right,
I appreciate what you're saying, and I support it, wholeheartedly in that whole respect.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, good stuff. Good takeaways. So before you go, tell us how people can find the program, and what do they do if they say, hey, I want to be a part of this fellowship program. How do they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do a lot of webinars. We do a lot of kind of like open houses, even through Zoom, or we're doing more about, in person stuff, in DC. But the simplicity is, you can go to our website, and under fellowship, you can click, to learn more. So a lot of the information is already on there, like I said, of kind of like the core aspect of the outlining of the 5 months and what the expectations are. As well as, you can see who's gone through our program. There's probably a lot of people you might even know there. And so when you go online, you apply, and it's a kind of like an interest. So it's the simplicity of getting just like your phone number and your email for like follow up, and then there's an online application. It's applications about 3 questions, 3 kind of short answered questions, and then kind of just some yes, no, and demographic information. And then it's a process of about 3 follow up interviews: a phone call with an alumni, a meeting with a program team member, and then a meeting with leadership. So the whole process is really meant so you can go through and meet kind of everybody, someone that's gone through the program, someone that run the program every day, and the leadership that helps drive it. And on the other side, dog tag gets to know, each candidate at that same
Sure.
level,
Hmm.
right? And so it's really important. We only have about 16 fellows per cohort, because we really believe in that high touch, high impact model. And for 5 months, sharing that time together in a small group, we really see is also what drives that authentic relationship building,
Sure.
that trust,
Mm-hmm.
that camaraderie differently, right? It's and no one has ranks at dog tag. There's no one enlisted or officer or spouse or caregiver. It's really, Tracy and Meghan. And that's kind of the beauty of it, right? We acknowledge it, we respect it, we honor it, but we also know there's more, right? And there's hope for the future. And what does that future look like? So if you go on the website, you can, again, click there. We have a lot of, like I said, we just accepted this class coming in January, which we're thrilled about, and the application for the July program. So we run every January and every July. That application is opening up in the next month. So in the January timeframe, we'll open up applications and, come to an information session if you want to learn more, if you know someone that might be interested. We have a lot of spouses that show up to actually say, like, I think my partner would want this. And sometimes they end up going through it. We have quite a few couples that have actually graduated, separate cohort, but graduated as well. So we would, and if you have any questions, you can always email us at info@dogtaginc.org. And that always gets filtered directly to our programs team. So we're happy to always, talk to anybody, email with anybody, just to make sure they have all the information to know if it's a good fit or not. So yeah.
That's great. That's great. Wonderful stuff, Meghan. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all that you've shared. This is really great information, and sounds like you're doing wonderful work, and you've definitely found your why. And all good stuff. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you, Tracy. Coming from you and Sherry, it's like I said, I really look up to you guys in so many ways, and what you're doing, and the economic impact that you're having, and it's really beautiful and phenomenal.
Thank
so
you.
Any way we can support and promote the work that you're doing, we'd be honored to do it. So thank you again for today and allowing us to have this platform.
Oh, hey, happy to do it. And just let us know how we can better support you as well. Love to help out.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, take care, Meghan. It was great to speak with you.
Thank you, Tracy.
We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, everybody out there, listeners, viewers. Thank you so much for tuning into this exciting episode of Tactical Treasures. We have been speaking to Meghan Ogilvie. She comes from a very strong military family, with both her father and sister having served in the United States Marine Corps. She is currently the CEO at Dog Tag Inc., a 501c3 that empowers service-disabled veterans, military spouses, and caregivers through an innovative 5-month fellowship program. Really exciting stuff that we've been hearing about during this podcast. They do this program in January and July, and you can check it out on their website, dogtaginc.org, or email them at info@dogtaginc.org. On the website, you can find information about donating. A lot of this program is run through their fundraisers, and they also raise money just by buying their baked goods. So check out the online store bakery, or if you're in Washington, D.C., why don't you go on right in and try out their baked goods. I understand that they're really awesome. You can also find information on the fellowship program and fill out an application. And I think it's really great. So check it out. Thanks for listening.